In a previous video, we modeled these simple buttons from this Fortnite computer, and we're going to go ahead and do a few more things. Let's do the dial and these little switches, and we'll see what else we can come up with. All right, so we're doing easy stuff, so we're going to do this. And there's more than one way of doing things, but let's just go ahead and do that. So I'm looking from the front orthographic view. To get there, just press number 1 on your keyboard, and I'm going to press Shift-A, Mesh Circle. Come down here, I'm going to open that, and I'm going to choose the number of vertices I want to use. I think I'm going to go with 22. Let's try 22 and see how that works, and close that down. Press Tab to go into edit mode, 1 for vertex selection, and I'm going to RX 90 to rotate it 90 degrees. We'll start it off that big, and then we'll make it smaller. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to look from the side, and it's a little difficult to see, but I'm going to press E to extrude, and I'm going to come out like this, and then I'm going to scale in a little bit like that. Press S, and I scaled in. So we have that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press E to extrude and S and come in just a little ways, and I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. Now we see this sort of darkening color, and that probably means that I extruded the wrong way and some of my polys are flipped. So I'm going to press A to select it all, Alt N, recalculate outside. Just watch the color. So you notice that it's changed. So now my polys are flipped the right way. Okay, so press 1, look from the front. And what I want to do is I want to create regions or polygons really of 4 vertices. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold Shift and click there. Press F to make a face. This now would have 4 vertices if I joined it. I click this one and this one, F to make a face. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I click here, I press 2 to go into edge selection and hold Shift, press these and this one, and then F to make a face. That is a quad. It's got 4 vertices. If I select this edge and this edge, F to make a face, this is also a quad. So we're going to continue. Now I could select this edge and this edge, F to make a face, F to make a face. So these are all quads, which makes the topology nicer. F to make a face. Just keep going down. F to make a face. This one, F to make a face, and this one, I'm going to choose these edges, F. So those are all quads. Okay, so I'm going to select it all, looking right from the front. I mean, you can do it like this, but I like to rotate this. Just press R and pull it like this until these vertices at the top here line up, and now you know it's straight up and down. Press 3 for face selection and select this one and this one, and we're going to make the knob part. So I'm just holding the middle mouse button and panning around. I'm going to press E to extrude, and I'm going to gesture upwards like that, or just move it by hand in the Y direction like that. Press 1 to look from the front, and I'm going to press SZ just to bend them down like that. Okay, so this is what I end up with. Let's bevel this. Go to the Modifier tab, add Modifier Bevel. Let's go for 3, Shade Smooth, and under Limit Method, choose Angle. Becomes a little smoother, and we have some of this stretching here. Let's try under Geometry, switch this miter outer to Arc. It pretty much clears it up. So we have that. Now, the only thing I want to do is have a close look at this. Okay, I think we're pretty good. And from here you can decide maybe if it's a little bit too deep for you. You can Shift Alt and click this edge. I'm in face selection, so go to edge selection. If you want, you can pull that back a little bit, and it doesn't have to be so deep. All right, so there we have that, and I'll just move it. And if you want to scale it, I would suggest you go into edit mode, select it all, and S to scale, and just do that. Shift D. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to just rotate it so it looks like it's turned, And we have some little dials like that. Okay. I'm just going to pull them back roughly in line with this, and we can use these parts later when we build, hopefully, this whole thing. All right, so we got the dials under control. Let's try one of these panels. Pretty simple to do. Okay, so let's look from the front again. And we're going to bring in a plane, Shift A, Mesh, Plane. We'll go into Edit Mode, Rotate X 90. And we want a nice sort of thin rectangle, so I can scale that in Z and bring it down something like that. We'll go with that. Let's press 1 to go into Vertex Selection, and let's bevel these edges. Shift Control B, not just Control B, but Shift Control B. Pull, so you get these notches like that, and then roll your mouse up. 1, 2, 3. So I have 5. Now you can move your mouse back in to make it a little tighter. Let's say we went with something like that now. It is rounded. It may not be rounded quite that much, so it's up to you. I could redo that if I wanted to have less of a curve. Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. That's fine. Okay, so what do we need to do here? It's basically just a flat panel, isn't it? Okay, so let's take this and let's just pan around. I'm holding Shift and the middle mouse button to do that, or just middle mouse button to do that. And we can just extrude out this way. Now, the back over here is not going to be seen, so I'm going to delete that. So let's go X faces on the face selection, and we have that piece there. Okay. Let's select this face and give it a bit of a bevel. Control B, so it's not Shift Control B, it's just Control B. And I'll use the same 5 segments. Make it nice and wide like that, and then shade smooth. And you can see there are some shading errors here. So we're going to, well, we can try just weighted normal and auto smooth. And that seems to have worked pretty well for us. Let's go ahead and make these pieces now, the actual switches. With my 3D cursor right there, let's bring in a plane, scale it down, rotate X 90, pull it out, look from the front, scale it in the X, and globally to get the approximate shape that we're going to want. Alright, so with that there, let's put Control R and edge loop right in the middle, and then select this edge here and pull it out so it goes like that. So it looks like a switch. Select the whole thing, extrude it back in the Y direction here. Extrude in the Y, and then we want to straighten this out in the Y. So let's go SY0 like that. We can now delete this back face, and let's make sure our polys are facing the right direction. Let's select, and let's go Alt-N, recalculate outside. See the color change that has happened here. Now we're going to bevel these edges. Select this edge and this edge. Select this edge and this edge. So the vertical edges. Control B and pull until we get this nice rounding effect. And then Shift Alt and click all the edges around there. Control B and pull. We'll do that, and I'll even do this one. Control B and pull. Alright, so shade smooth. And that's looking pretty good. Let's bring that in as if it's a switch there. Let's look from the front. Let's slide this down, and let's start making a bunch of them. I believe there are 6. Okay, no, there's more. 1, 2, 3, no, 6. Okay, and these ones come up, and these ones are flipped. So let's just go ahead for the moment and see if we can get 6 out of this using Add Modifier Array in the X, and then hold down Shift and pull in this area here to separate them a bit. And let's give a count of 6, and then we can increase that size a little bit, and we can center them, and just think those look a little bit big compared to these ones here. All right, so I'm going to make them a little bit narrower. So I'm going to come in to this one, select it. I'm going to scale globally, and then I'm going to scale in the X. All right, and then with that done, I'm going to come back to the array, hold Shift, spread them out a bit more, look from the front, and it doesn't look too bad. I'm going to flip them in a minute, but before I do, let's go ahead and make that outside part. So let's bring in another plane, edit mode, rotate X90, bring it out. Let's go into wireframe, Z wireframe, scale till it's just about bigger, scale in the X. Now let's move it over to this one here, and I'm going to make it a bit bigger than that. I think I want it even, maybe S to scale a bit more, sort of line it up. Okay, now we're going to press I to inset and hold Shift, pull in like that, and then X faces, delete those faces. So A to select. Let's go back into solid view, and we see we have this. Now I'm going to press E to extrude and pull back in the Y, and then with those faces selected, let's X faces, delete them. Now let's make sure the polys are facing the right way. Select it all, Alt N, calculate outside, and the color has changed. Let's bevel these edges. So an edge selection, number 2, Shift and Alt, click all of these, holding down Shift, Alt, and click. And then we can just look at one of them. Control B and pull. And I'm having 5 segments. Remember, you can roll your mouse up. There's 3 segments, 4, 5, something like that. Let's now Shift and Alt to click the outer edge and the inner edge like that. Control B again, pull, don't pull too much so that they don't overlap. Okay, we've got that. And let's try taking this, select it all, bringing it back until it just makes contact with the rest of the panel. Is that okay like that? Okay, let's give this a try anyhow. Let's put an array on this, and then just keep moving this until the next one is surrounded, and then we'll try adding 6, and then just nudge this along a little bit. Not bad. Let's make sure that they're all making contact. I think we need to work on this a little bit. I think the shading is off on this, so let's try weighted normal, auto smooth. That's a little bit better. And let's say that's okay for the moment. We need to flip these, so let's go ahead in the modifiers, find the array, this one here, and let's apply it, and then go into edit mode. Now I'm going to select a piece of this one, Control L, and I'm going to rotate in the Y. Rotate Y 180. I'll select a piece of this one, Control L, rotate Y 180. And they are now rotated. I do feel, however, that maybe they're sticking out a bit too much. Let's see if I pull them in a little bit more. What I could do if I wasn't quite happy with that is I could look from the side. I'm going to press Control 3. I'm going to go into wireframe, press number 1 for vertex selection, and I'm going to press B and box select those. Press B and box select those. And I'm going to pull these down a little bit in the Z just to tame the height. Go back into solid view, have a look at that. And they're not sticking up quite as much. And that is probably okay for what I want. All right. Let's now box select the whole thing and create a collection for this. press M, new collection, and call this switches. And OK. There. Minimize that. I have one for switches. Let's do this one. Box select those. M, new collection, dials. There we go. Now I can take this, look from the front. I can make it bigger or smaller, whatever I want to do. I'll just move it over here. So this is our collections of stuff that we have. Let's do those. Make sure, yeah, everybody is playing nice. We can have a look at just that stuff now. Focus on that and see everything is looking pretty good. And we got some nice pieces that we can use. All right, cool. What else? Dials, switches, this thing, the slider. Okay, let's do the sliders. And then we'll call it a day. Okay, cool. So let's look from the front. We're going to make that slider thing there. So we're going to start with a plane as usual. Go into edit mode, rotate X 90. And we're going to scale this in the X and make it narrower. We're going to start with that. Okay. So we need that. Okay. So we're going to round the edges here. With the edges, the vertices selected. Shift Control B, pull. I want 5 in there, and I've got 5. Beautiful. Select it all. Hide inset. Pull in. Now, just before we do this, just be careful that they don't overlap like that. So just bring it in a little ways. Okay, and just keep looking. Zoom in if you need to. We want a border here. And we have that border right there like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'll deselect. I am going to switch to face selection, number 3, and Shift and Alt and click on here. And I'm going to extrude these out in the Y. E, and come on out like that. So we're going to do that kind of thing there. And now we're going to bevel the edges. Shift and Alt and click there, Shift and Alt and click there in edge selection, and let's bevel. Control B, pull. I don't mind 5 segments there. Let's go back and shade smooth. And obviously we're going to have some shading issues, which we're going to deal with. We can do that right now, actually. Way to normal, auto smooth. Let's leave it like that for now. It's looking fine. And let's go back and see what we need to do. So we've got this part and the other side. There's more that we can do with that. If we want to, if we don't want it completely flat, we can Control R, put an edge loop in there. We can pull this out like that, and then Control B, and just go like that, and that will give us a nice sort of rounded part here and this flat part there. So I kind of like that effect for that. Don't worry about any shading errors. We may be doing more with that in a bit. The way I think I'm going to do the next part, we're going to need to make, let's come over here and let's zoom in this way. All right, we're going to make this part, which sort of looks like it dips in to the main piece here. So with my 3D cursor there, I'm going to go Shift A, Mesh Plane, and rotate X 90, and pull it out in front. Scale in the X, and make these grooves, and just scale globally. I'm going to push this over to here, and I just want to go back over here and see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create this inner part here. And I'm going to have 2 of them where the sliders are. Okay, how far up does it go? It doesn't go up as far as I've got it, so I'm going to scale this in the Z a little bit. SZ down a little bit more. Now, if I just come over here and add mirror, because my 3D cursor was right in the middle, I'll get that there. Let's take these and bring them back a little bit. And just imagine if that's where we make our spaces, our grooves, and I think that's going to be just fine. Okay. Now, we may not have to do a Boolean as the more I think about it. What I think we can do is select this, and let's make the space for this. A space for this. Yeah, let's do that. Let's Control R, put an edge loop down there, and then Control R, put an edge loop there, and then Control B and pull up, but roll your mouse back to 0, and bring it up to here. So we stop there, and I think I'm going to put an edge loop here and an edge loop there. And now I have, if I go to face selection, this space here that I can use for the slider. Now I can extrude this backwards like that. And we're going to pinch it in, scale in the X, pinch it like that, and scale in the Z, pinch it like that. And we're starting to get what we need. You can see it in the mirror. We're not done yet. Shift Alt and click. Let's go back to edge selection. Shift Alt and click the edges all the way around. Like this. And let's extrude them back. E, pull it back. It doesn't really matter how far. It doesn't matter if it goes in behind. So we have sort of a solid piece there. And now we need to bevel. I would actually grab this edge. Shift Alt and click that edge. Shift Alt to click that one and that. So the vertical edges, for now, forget about the inside. Control B and pull. Roll my mouse up till I have about 5 segments there. And then I would Shift Alt and click all of this on the outside. We're going to try this. All of these edges, make sure you get everything. Okay. Control B, pull, not too much. Doing it by hand here. And then let's come in here and let's see what happens if we come all the way around on the inside. It's maybe a little funny pinching here. You can try it. Control B, let's do it again. That's going like that. That's all right with me. There. Now with that done, now I would come in, add the bevel, switch to angle and arc, and let me try weighted normal and auto smooth. And what I probably would do is come here and leave that at none. Now there's one more thing I would probably do. It's a little ugly here. I would Shift Alt and click these edges here. I'm sorry this is a little bit more complicated than the other one. We'll do that and just focus on one period key. Control B and do this. And I like that effect better. Let's make sure we shade smooth. And now we can try and see how angle works for us. Yeah. No, I don't think we need that. All right. And that's what we end up with. Make sure we do shade smooth. No, actually, angle probably does work. Good, that'll take care of that. All right. I may come back in and do one last bevel. It becomes awkward, but I'm going to do it here. I'm selecting all of the inner stuff. And just select that. And that's what we come up with right there. So that was a little bit more crazy beveling, but I like the effect that that gives in the end. Okay, now we still need to do the slider part. So let's go Shift A, mesh, circle this time. Let's choose something like 18 vertices. We don't need that many. All right, we're going to be going in that orientation though. But we can certainly make it smaller than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out, look from the top. I want to delete, box select these ones and get rid of them. And then A to select it all. Let's scale this in the Y to flatten it out. I just need it slightly rounded, like that. E to extrude, and we'll pull back like this. Let's straighten this out in the Y, SY0. So we have this, select it all, and give it some height like that. Select the whole thing, Alt-N, recalculate outside for any polys that are flipped, and we can delete these back faces here. You can press 3 for face selection and just select all of these. Hold down Shift and select these all. And X faces, we don't need those. And we can select it all and bring it closer. And we can just grab this G and bring it over. And we'll put a bevel on this. So let's go ahead and do that. Bevel, let's go for like 3. We'll try our angle, shade smooth, and we'll try weighted normal, and that. Now we may get some funny stuff going on, and so I'm going to add an edge loop and just pull it up. I'll tighten things up a little bit, and I think we'll probably be okay. Come back here and you can experiment with having that or not having that. I'm gonna put that back on actually, and some of this is caused by the cavity shader. It's not there, you don't really see that much. Sometimes, again, let's dissolve that. I prefer to manually bevel some of these edges. We'll see if I like that. Kind of do. Let's scale this in the wire a little bit more. Let's pull it in and see if it's the right size for this. Like that. I'll go into edit mode, Shift D and G, and I'll just drag another one like that. Let's see how worth those things are. Or no, whatever. You can put them wherever you like. And we've done it. Select it all. M, new collection. I'll call it slider. Let's drag that over to our group of stuff. And that's what we have so far. Okay, a whole bunch of pieces of an interface that we could use to create the larger model itself. All right, so let's leave it at that for now. We've got our button panel, our dials, our switches, and our sliders, and we'll continue with more simple modeling next time.